Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Jacob Weil.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves in the midst of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, having started a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus.
And tonight we bring you Star Wars Tales of the Jedi.
Yes, Jacob, do you think we could give him a little dramatic reveal right now?
Sure, go right ahead.
Visually, Jacob, can we dress the set a little bit here?
I'm not sure what you mean.
The thing's not up, Jacob.
What's not up?
The image, it's not up.
Yes, it is.
I'm not looking. Are you sure?
Yes, I hit the overlay.
I'm not seeing it.
What do you mean? It's there. It's visible. I'll take.
And by the way, check the live stream. Tell me if it's visible. Maybe I'm blind.
I'm on the live stream right now. I'm on YouTube. It's there.
Well, this overlay is the craziest thing, because I'm telling you, we're not. Okay, I'm sorry, folks. It's the weirdest thing. YouTube has changed a lot of stuff recently, so I guess this is it for one of them. Then I don't know.
I mean, it might just be a YouTube thing. It might just be like a StreamYard thing on your end.
I guess so. I'm just
because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it on StreamYard on my end, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm seeing it there too.
Okay, sorry, folks. I'll take your word for it, Jacob. Otherwise, it's not okay.
I was like, wait, what do you mean?
That's what I'm saying. I'm starting this thing saying it's not up, and I'm still not seeing it. I'm seeing our things, make the sound motions, but nothing.
I'll send you the link on YouTube, and you can check it out.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Jacob, we're here talking about Tales of the Jedi.
Yes. Really, it's a new anthology that primarily focuses on the history and important stories of two major Star Wars characters from the Clone Wars.
And who are those characters?
Count Dooku and Ahsoka Tano.
Yes. Oh, sorry, it's the darndest thing. I can see it. I can see it going, but I don't. All right.
Oh well. Now that's in the opening forever, Dragon.
Yeah, no, I'm aware, but folks, you can't fly blind on these things. You got to know, and well, now we know.
Well, I knew the entire time.
All right, Jacob, we're not going for brownie points here. You knew better, okay? Anyway, that was just going to be distracting for me the whole time that I can't see what's going on, but I'm just going to have to power through
that. All right, well, you can always just stare at the YouTube screen.
Well, I guess.
All right, moving on from our technical difficulties.
Yes,
but yes, it's basically details, especially with Count Dooku, like how he became the Count Dooku we know and love to hate, and also some backstory for Ahsoka. I mean, basically, a lot of Ahsoka's backstory and overall story was seen in the original Clone Wars series. But this provides some side stories and what even happened after the events of Season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, so overall, Jacob, I don't know about you. I thought this was a great idea, doing the mini anthology. I think it's another success for Filoni, as he kind of continues to redeem the prequels.
I mean, that's just his life's mission at this point, I guess.
Yeah, he was like one of those kids in the theater saying, "I'm going to fix all this when I'm a big boy. I'm going to fix all this."
He did a good job.
Yeah, attaboy, Filoni.
Well, then again, when those movies came out, he wasn't really a kid in the first place.
Well, I know.
Keep in mind he was already working on The Last Airbender by the time the episode 3 came out.
I know, it's for dramatic effect.
Yeah, I know, but still, I'm going for accuracy's sake.
Wait, what year did The Last Airbender come out?
2005, around that time.
Oh, sorry, I thought. Sorry, when you said the Last Airbender, of course, I'm
The
thinking
TV series, of
yeah,
course.
Avatar. I'm saying I think all of us just we want to say that's the Avatar we care about, and then you have James Cameron in the corner says, "No, my Avatar is the real one."
But to be fair, like he didn't have anything to do with the name change with the
I know, whatever.
with the Avatar live action movie, with the Avatar Last Airbender live action movie. Like that was just because that was more like Paramount, and M Night Shyamalan didn't want to have any confusion.
Right.
Now then
Yeah.
again, but back to that, like Filoni was already working on Last Airbender and actually directed like the season finale by the time that out. Like, remember the background story. The background story is like where he got a call while working on Airbender from like from Lucasfilm. It's like we want you to come to Lucasfilm to direct it.
Hmm.
Remember that? Like he was talking about
Yeah.
like the behind the scenes for like Mando,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it thought it was like a prank from the SpongeBob guys.
Uh huh.
But that just goes to show you how far he's come now. He's basically one of the people in charge of Lucasfilm now.
Just love the idea of the SpongeBob guys just going, "Oh, would really get Dave." Okay, what if we just call him and pretend to be George Lucas, do someone that have like Bob here do his do his George Lucas impression, or Steven do his Lucas impression.
It's like we want you to come down to the Lucasfilm and talk to George Lucas,
Yep.
and
Yeah. Right.
he showed up and then he got the job.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I love narratively what the goal is here with the two paths in parallel to each other with, Dooku and Ahsoka, and more anthology stuff, please. If it's going to be like this and to become
I
a short film, going to drop it all at once, this was great.
Yeah, I know it wouldn't ever line up because of timeline purposes, but I would love to see Dooku and Ahsoka interact.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well, I
mean,
mean,
like I said, I know it wouldn't line up perfectly. I mean, technically, I guess they kind of did in the Clone Wars.
yeah,
So
that's what I mean, Jacob. They did kind of. At least one, at the very least during the first movie, I'm pretty sure they kind of bumped up into each other at least once. But I think the times they probably, been at least in the same room together.
I keep thinking that for some reason I was thinking that that Dooku died in Attack of the Clones when he
No.
actually died. I remembered he died in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, he gets beheaded by the double scissor lightsaber thing. Basically like doing an execution scissor move with the two lightsabers.
Fatality.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's the thing. So this thing just kind of randomly dropped. We knew it was coming, but I think I think a lot of us, Halloween showing up and a lot of stuff going on. And Black Panther 2 is on the horizon. I think there's a lot of things that have kind of sprung up on folks.
Like I said, and to be fair, there's some pretty horrific imagery in this thing.
Yeah,
So I was like, so it kind of fits. I mean, it's not like a straight up Star Wars Halloween special or anything, but to be fair, there are some pretty horrific things in this show.
that's pretty dark. Yeah.
It definitely matches up like season 7 of the Clone Wars in terms
Oh,
of
for sure. I mean, they're kind of playing by Samurai Jack rules. It feels like where when we come back to it, it's like yeah, we're going to be able to go a little darker here. Which oddly enough, with Disney Plus, before we open the floodgates with as we reclaimed the Marvel Netflix stuff, it does feel like like Star Wars is always allowed to go darker than the other things because it's sci-fi, it's in space. Like we can cut a guy in half with a door because there's no blood. It's fine.
and people said like Disney's will be charged. They'll just make it more kid friendly and less dark. It's like nope. They actually, if anything, they actually made it a bit darker.
Yep.
I mean, have you seen like some of the stuff they get away with in Rebels? I mean, damn.
Mm-hmm.
The first season alone of Rebels ends with a guy willingly committing suicide by falling into a pit of fire.
Yeah.
So that tells you they're not really messing around in this. And while it doesn't reach that level of intensity here, yeah, there is some pretty intense stuff.
Yeah. So, without further ado, perhaps we should begin our breakdown, and we're going to go through the 6 episodes, kind of talk the highlights, if you will.
All right, so you just want to do any like general highlights up front, or do you just want to go episode by episode?
Let's go episode by episode.
All right, episode 1, Life and Death, in which we witness an early stage in Ahsoka Tano's life. As a matter of fact, her infant days.
So, Jacob, I don't know about you. This was my least. It wasn't bad, but it was my least favorite of the six.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, it is kind of interesting to see like the Tagroot lifestyle and everything, and see her mother and father, and I did kind of appreciate the how her like the killing and hunting is kind of inspired by like Native American hunters and all that.
Yeah, so that is interesting, and to me though, it's that this episode we don't really get as much out of it as we do the other episodes. I mean, honestly,
They
if I
can
between yes,
they said you could almost say they're going to use the whole Kaibuck.
yes.
I thought you'd appreciate that
Oh,
reference.
I did definitely. I was watching the episode. Like, yeah, oh for sure, that was great. Every part of the Buffalo kind of Star Wars version of that, very nice.
Like, then again, that is inspired by like actual Native
Well,
American
yeah,
hunting.
exactly. Yeah,
So I was like, I kind of did appreciate the touch of that.
yes. So, well, that's the thing. So, with this episode, I think looking back on it, I mean, it definitely cements that I feel the Dooku side of the six episodes, like the three episodes of Dooku, I think I liked a lot more than the Ahsoka episodes. But I think because they're different in their approach, and we'll get into that when we get into the next episodes in terms of like how they're different in their approach. But I mean, with this episode, I mean, I think the surface level look on this episode, and I think ultimately what it kind of is for me is it's Baby Yoda with Ahsoka and not much else, which it's fine. But what we do have that is working for is what you said, Jacob. It's we are getting into mythology a little bit here, in which we get to explore kind of the genre bending aspect of Star Wars at play here, where it's a very tribal kind of Native American in space sort of thing going on here.
Like, I do like that, but it also doesn't kind of shows like so like kind of shows like they can be hardened warriors if they need to be too. Like they weren't hesitating to kill the tiger or whatever that saber tooth monster was called.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever give that a name? Because I know they mentioned the Kaibuck, but I don't know if they mentioned what the saber tooth tiger was
Jacob, like everything in Star Wars ever, the toys and the books will tell you.
and what's it called.
Well, yeah, the toys and the books will tell you. It doesn't mean it's in the show.
Like, so you don't know the name of it either.
That's the thing. My Star Wars. I go by what's on the screen, man. They didn't say what that thing was on the screen, so I don't know.
Like, well, they did mention, like I said, they mentioned the Kaibuck. That's the only reason I know that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they may,
Let's just
for all
call
I know,
this.
maybe they did. But let's just say the creature, the monster, the lion, the thing.
I'll call it the saber tooth tiger,
All right, the saber tooth thing. Yeah.
the saber tooth creature.
Yes, the saber tooth creature. So
So,
So I mean, the point it feels like the point of the Ahsoka side of our plot for Tales of the Jedi is we're going to show how she got so good and how she got so skilled by the by the end of this story ultimately in Mando, by the end of her story when we catch up with her. And ultimately, I think a lot of this is Ahsoka, clearly a favorite and a breakout character from the Clone Wars and very much Dave Filoni's baby, and we get to see Dave Filoni's baby. Look at her, it's little baby Ahsoka, literally Filoni's baby. Look how cute she is.
and basically, it does touch upon like why she does some of the stuff she does. Like this talks about like like highlights her compassion and her compassion, life over death. Other
Yeah.
episodes like basically her resolve, of course,
Uh-huh.
and of course her even her training with Master Skywalker and all that.
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, again, it just feels like okay. So she's calming the savage beast, just like Grogu did in Book of Boba Fett. Okay, it's like you know where it's going after a certain point. It's like okay, this is like a cute little coda to start things off, but I don't really do we really get a whole lot out of it.
I mean, I was honestly expecting the mother to get killed by the saber tooth beast.
Yeah, me too, and it didn't happen. It's like okay, so this is. I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm kind of glad for her sake that it didn't happen, but
yeah,
it doesn't explain why we never see her again for the rest of the for any other time.
exactly. So it's just ultimately it just feels like she's a Jedi. Well, clearly she's a Jedi because she didn't get killed by this thing, and she's like riding it. So anyway, all right. So that brings us to unless you have anything else you want to get in on.
I do like her parents though.
Yeah, no, they seem cool. Yeah,
What were their names again?
I'm not sure.
I mean, I just watched every single episode today,
Yeah.
which is good because they're just basically like 15 minutes shorts each.
Yeah, the runtime was good. It was pretty much a collection of shorts ultimately.
Yeah, so not. I guess that brings us to episode 2, Justice.
Okay, now I love all these Dooku episodes, man, and
Like, and
these
then
were great.
the thing is for me, I didn't really read or look into any of the behind the scenes stuff before this, or even watch any of the trailers. But I didn't realize that was Dooku until I heard Corey Burton. I was like, wait a minute, that's Dooku.
I think honestly, it's probably the best that Corey Burton has done as Dooku. I think he got a lot of good material here to work with, and he did a really good job.
And the neat thing is, for young Qui Gon, they actually got Liam Neeson's son.
Really, it's Neeson's son playing young Qui Gon.
I believe so.
That's awesome. So, structurally, here's something to mention. It's really interesting in terms of all of these shorts. So, with the anthology format here, there is a linear path here. So, it's interesting. Think about it. Like, I was wondering going into this. Okay, so there's going to be three Ahsoka, then three that are we going to intersperse it. When in reality, what we did is okay. So Ahsoka starts the story, and then we basically time things out, building from essentially pre-episode 1 to ultimately Revenge of the Sith. So all the Dooku stuff is in line with each other in terms of it's a very linear story in terms of like three different points in his life unfolding per the story and before Ahsoka's story really comes back into play.
So basically, the first two take place before and possibly during Attack of the Clone, before Phantom Menace.
Yeah, they all take place before Phantom Menace, and then they all take place before, and then the third one is during Phantom Menace.
And then the rest of them are after or during
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Or even pre A New Hope.
Yeah.
Or the thing is, you actually kind of have to know the movies and even some of the stuff in Clone Wars and to understand what's going on in this thing.
Not necessarily, Jacob. Not entirely necessarily. In terms of you have. I think if you didn't know anything about Count Dooku, you'd watch this and you'd be really interested in this character, and then you'd go into because remember Dooku's just kind of dropped in our lap in the second one. He's just kind of there, and this tells us everything. Yes.
Like I said, I didn't even know it was him until I heard Corey Burton speaking.
Yes. But yeah, it's just the fact that again, I think you can kind of go into a clean read, and this again retroactively, which is kind of what Filoni does a lot of this. Retroactively, Clone Wars just make a lot of things better, including Attack of the Clones.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard. It's kind of easy to improve Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Dooku was one of the best parts of that movie anyway.
Well, yes, even though he was rather ill-defined, but he was good. He's Christopher Lee, for pity's sake. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So Ahsoka's story predominantly is filling in blanks and check-ins with her during the course of Star Wars, where I think what separates the Dooku story, which I think I liked more about it in the approach, not that there's anything wrong with the Ahsoka approach, but I think I really love seeing the progression and the arc with Dooku. Like, there's a character arc at play here in 3 episodes.
Basically from the kind of an ideal Jedi master to falling to the dark side.
Yeah, so again, we have a lot of parallels to Anakin, which is very interesting. Because you remember, again, Anakin does essentially supplant Count Dooku. So seeing the guy who came before Vader, this is the proto Vader ultimately with Count Dooku.
It is kind of interesting to see like the blue version of his iconic lightsaber.
Yeah. So again, as we've established, Filoni's strength is recontextualizing, George Lucas's Star Wars and retroactively again trying to spice things up in the prequels.
To be fair, George Lucas did help a lot with the Clone Wars as well.
No, he did. That's a thing too. I think gotta remember the other thing we gotta give. No one ever gives George Lucas credit for here is with Clone Wars, he does have a lot more time to develop things rather than basically cram all the world building of like, okay, so I want to talk about the politics of space. Well, yes, George, but kids want action in 2 hours. They don't want people sitting around. It's not House of Cards.
That doesn't but House of Cards doesn't even exist yet. Like it will, trust me.
Yes. Anyway,
Your kids aren't ready for the You aren't ready for it yet, but your kids will love
God. Thanks, Marty or
it.
Calvin.
All right.
All right, so Dooku here. So the idea here is we're building the mission statement of this show is that we're building to choices made by Ahsoka and Dooku, and by the third installment of their story. So Dooku here, we have the choice being facilitated ultimately by we're kind of we're seeding things here where he's seeing corruption firsthand, which is going to facilitate his choice by the third episode that he's in. I really like the layered dynamic here with the layered dynamics at play, like with the senator's son, for example. Essentially, Qui Gon and Dooku are sent to rescue the senator's son.
Yeah, but it's kind of revealed that the senator isn't really the nicest guy.
No. His son's a peach, though. His son, his son's very much like he's emphasizing with the people. He's not being really held there against his will. He's empathizing with his kidnappers.
Like Josh Keaton, by the way.
Hey,
I believe that's him, by the way. I believe that's him. Your favorite Spider-Man.
of course. I think everyone's favorite Spider-Man.
Well, your favorite Spider-Man voice, anyway.
Right. Well, of course.
But it's like when they realized that all the patrons were the kidnappers, that was like, whoa, that's a twist. But and again, I really appreciate the dynamic between Count Dooku and Qui-Gon.
Yeah, that was real. That was the thing I was really looking forward to because, of course, I love Qui-Gon Jinn, and of course Liam Neeson, fantastic actor. And the problem with Qui-Gon is that he had so little screen time. He only had he had one movie in which he seemed rather interesting. We didn't really do a lot with him, and then we killed him off. For obviously for things to progress the way they did, but still, it's and then Filoni, of course, famously in the behind the scenes on Mando, he went through this glorious diet, this glorious kind of thing about how Qui-Gon was like the father that Anakin needed and everything, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I love seeing kind of the idea of the grizzled master versus the hopeful Padawan. That's something we usually again we kind of reversed with Anakin and Obi-Wan. So we've kind of done a fun kind of precursor of that here.
And it's kind of interesting to see Dooku being the one that's kind of like that instead.
Yeah, and of course during this battle, essentially, they stand up to the senator and his men, and they have all these poor people wounded and killed, presumably. And I love seeing Dooku. He just taps into the dark side of the Force here, and he's force choking him, and just basically making his way past these guys. Is so fed up with playing by the rules of combat and everything. He just goes up there, and I love seeing Qui-Gon be kind of moral and rein Dooku in. I love the point here that the best thing we get out of any of this is that Dooku, he's not. We're adding a lot of dimension to Dooku versus just the mustache twirl. And that no, Dooku didn't just betray the Jedi. This guy had a reason for betraying the Jedi, which is not necessarily an evil reason.
And he didn't acknowledge to Qui-Gon as like if you had to have intervened, more people might have gotten killed.
Yeah, and of course, it's not really like a whole. Not all the wrong people would have gotten killed, but people would have gotten killed.
Yeah, but he might have been at that point if he hadn't have stopped, hadn't stopped the choking entirely. Dooku might have actually fallen to the dark side sooner.
Of course.
I mean, it actually kind of makes us recontextualize everything that Dooku stood for in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
I love the terror on the senator when he's facing down. I always love when we have these moments where we have these bad people who are then facing down, like, oh God, I've underestimated him, and he's just this cocky senator, like practically facing death as he's being choked, and it's complete. All the power is out of his control, and then you have Dooku just going after him, just so fervently, and he's just so cornered, and he has to confront all the bad stuff he's done.
I was yeah, that's a good idea. Talk down to the guy who's wielding a laser sword that can choke you from a distance.
Yeah. I love the horrifying notion that the Jedi are going to be fine, but these people, the kind of our resistance, the people of this planet, they're not going to be so lucky.
Well, it's ironic, and it's kind of ironic that Dooku is the one to save them.
Yeah.
And later he might be one of the ones responsible for their destruction.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this isn't in this episode. It's in 2 episodes later. But his line that says like, "How many people have died because of my actions?"
And of course, he's saying that kind of in a very kind of there's a bit of a remorseful thing here versus we're late. Well, I guess more is just kind of like a prevention versus what actually happened thing later. Yeah.
It's like basically the Jedi. It's a good thing the Jedi didn't find out about it tapping into the dark side here, or else things might have gone very differently.
Yes. So I'd say brings us to episode 3.
Choices. We get to see the glorious return of Mace Windu
Yeah, man. Yeah.
and his relationship with Dooku.
Yeah.
What is Dooku's first name, by the way?
Well, to me, it's always Count, but I
I think
don't.
I guess I can't. I'm guessing Count is more of a title. Than,
Oh, I know it's a title. I have no idea what Dooku's full name is.
I,
I don't think
I,
many
don't,
do.
I don't even know if there is one. I
That's
mean,
insane.
I mean, less people. I mean, less people know his Darth name,
Yeah,
Darth Tyrannus.
yeah. Turn that I know. That I did know actually.
Like, well, yeah, but Darth Tyrannus still a badass name.
It is. So, anyway, so okay, so choices again. This is very much he's we present the argument in this episode for Dooku, which I think is very fascinating. I love the idea that where he's seen the system fail firsthand in the previous episodes. I love how intricate all these 3 episodes work together. It's a very much like a trilogy in about less than an hour.
I think all these could have been a movie in their own right.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just love just kind of the way it's presented here. Like we're hitting all of our great story beats here for a very full character in like less than 20 minutes a pop. So it's just the idea. This episode is where he gets the idea. He gets the big light bulb of how to fix things. This is where he basically gets the idea to maybe go towards old Palpy's side.
Yeah, it doesn't always like yeah. Somehow, Palpatine has a way of seducing people to the dark side, preying on their insecurities to get them to do whatever he wants.
What's interesting though is the implication here is that he was forging it here. Like it seems like he was more complicit in building up Palpatine than Palpatine was just like whispering in people's ears. At least that's what it seems like.
Well, here though, he's tasked with tasked with Windu to figure out the death of we got Jedi's death.
Yeah, yeah. So so he's so he's very much he's kind of measured against Mace Windu here in terms of kind of Dooku and the moral quandary. Mace Windu, obviously, again with the Anakin Skywalker parallels, they do definitely exist here. With the episode being called Choices and Mace Windu being there with this character at a crossroads, very indicative of Revenge of the Sith, in which Anakin has to make kind of a more split second choice of like save Mace or kill Palpatine.
And we all know what he chooses.
Yeah, exactly. Kill Palpatine and save Mace or not. And, well, yeah.
We all know how that turned out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance Mace Windu survived, but we won't know until, well, the word is the rumor is that if we get a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, Mace Windu might be in it.
Hopefully with Samuel L. Jackson.
Well, of course, yes. Really weird if we didn't get him.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're good enough to do Secret Invasion, but you're not good enough to do Star Wars. We gave you the purple lightsaber with the custom hilt and everything.
It's like I do love the behind the scenes stuff of that. Like people get blue lightsabers to represent this. People get green lightsabers to represent that. Red lightsabers because their kyber system's unstable and they're evil. Mace Windu got purple because Samuel L. Jackson wanted purple.
Yep.
And they got it.
Yep, and of course, like on the side there, you have like the kind of our lore guys going, okay, what's purple mean? What's purple mean? Purple stuff, introspection, bruising, fruit. I don't know.
It's like, and the fact that his lightsaber secret says "badass motherfucker."
Yeah, that too. bad MF, bad mother. Yeah.
Pardon my French.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the actual episode at hand.
Yes, so we see Dooku making some bold moves in interrogation that do lead to disaster, where he's interrogating the wrong guy to get results, and that poor guy gets killed. It looks like did he get shot or killed? I think
That's
he
like
got killed.
I do remember. I don't know remember specifically, but I do remember like someone shooting at Windu, and then Windu's deflection is what kills someone.
Yeah, so I mean, if I recall, we only have because of the deflection move, we only have one survivor who confesses everything. So I think everyone's dead. But regardless, it's just the fact
They,
that he's
go on.
yeah. It's just regardless. It's just the fact that again, Dooku's tactics become under fire here, and again, there is an argument for both sides of it here. Where obviously, he did the way he did to get everyone killed, but again, Dooku has been getting results though.
Yeah, he got results probably better than Mace Windu could have.
Yeah, quite possibly, but again, basically, he got more expedient results in which, well, these guys most likely would have ended up dead, but he just accelerated the process and made it a certainty. But again, the poor guy being held hostage did get killed, which again, that was Dooku's fault.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. I like that Dooku's not entirely in the right or the wrong here.
yeah, that does. Yeah, I do see what you're saying there, and I'm trying to like. And the fact is, the people like the senator again was like trying to use their land for land development, basically selling up bits of land,
Yep.
like using them for land development. I brought that kind of thing up before.
What do you want for Christmas? Real estate.
Yeah, I'll pretend I understood the reference.
Well, Charlie Brown Christmas, remember? It's like toys and gum and
Uh,
all that sort of stuff.
I
You know
don't.
what? I want real estate.
I don't remember the real estate line, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
I have said, don't get me wrong, I have seen that. I just don't remember every bit of it.
No, no.
But like,
Anyway, yeah, yeah. Go on.
but it turns out the hostages were just going to turn him into a puppet king.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
so they're not entirely faultless either.
No, no, no. So,
So
but yeah, yeah. So Dooku gets the light bulb from this guy about what he should do. Says, that's you guys want it's faulty logic, but you might be on to something here.
this is arguably the most morally gray episode of the series.
I love it, man.
It's like yeah, we pretty much see where everybody's coming from on this. Like obviously when one thing that the Clone Wars definitely highlighted is that maybe we shouldn't always side with the Jedi on their points.
I mean, that's the thing. When you boil down Star Wars, particularly Clone Wars, but I'm saying in general the prequels, particularly, the whole point of Darth Vader's story, of the whole fall of Anakin Skywalker story, is that the Jedi weren't always right. There's a hypocrisy with the Jedi that was never really addressed, except with the Ultimate Rebellion, which again, a lot of scholars, a lot of our betters, let's say, they've made the whole religious implications of the whole, likening Darth Vader to like, Lucifer and how that whole thing went in terms of like, well, he didn't like the way God was doing things. He rebelled against them and he was punished for it and scarred and made ugly. The most promising, the prophesized chosen one, that whole thing, like the best of us, he's become now. He's all coated in darkness and everything. So, in that sense, it's kind of like a guy with a counter, kind of with a counter argument here of like the Jedi what are rebel what the the guard who rebelled and concocted this plan. He does make the point that raises an eyebrow for Dooku that hey, the Jedi's are serving high society and essentially the fat cats of the galaxy. They're serving the people with the money who are turning their nose up at like war and hostility and this and that, and like they're calling the shots. Ergo, the Jedi serve the 1% and not the people as they necessarily should.
Like the Jedi like to believe they do, but
Yeah,
it's not always the case.
as I'm saying, of course, the Jedi
I
they
mean,
live.
I mean, that guy's like isn't entirely correct because they do because as evidenced by a lot of other evidence that the Jedi do help the less fortunate in need.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if it's the fascinating dichotomy. You think about it with like ultimately with the First Order when we that like when we get to the sequel trilogy, but pared down, order and kind of like a uniformity, which ultimately leads to the Empire. And this is what I'm saying. If you kind of do an exploded version of Star Wars and you connect the dots and everything, it's like, wait a minute, there's a lot of themes here in terms of like, well, the Jedi are all about preserving order, but of course, in preserving order, it's like whoever's on top is technically most in line with that order, and in doing so, you lose the little guy, and they're supposed to be serving the little guy. So yeah, it's rather interesting, and just is the fact that again, like the Jedi have the way their organization's built, there is no wiggle room for gray, and that of course leads to the problem. And Dooku is kind of aware of this problem.
The Star Wars Clone Wars, the Clone Wars series is more politically complex than people realize.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not to say the entire series is political because it's not. But,
No, of course not. Space politics.
and even then, there's a lot of them that are just focused on otherworldly adventures and everything, with like the best film serials out there. But
Yeah,
but there are a lot of episodes that focus on like the ups and downs of the political spectrum on this show, like highlighting the faults of both sides of this, like the good and the evil, the dark side and the light.
yeah.
Which strangely that doesn't really carry into the movies that much.
I love the button we end on with this episode. Just the fact that at the end of things, Dooku, in playing ball here, he kind of like how he kind of commends that guy, saying, again, your methods were faulty, but you do have valid points, and then he leaves, and he learns that Mace Windu, he got the promotion. He's the lead. I believe he's what is it, Grandmaster Jedi? Is that what his rank is technically, or is it just Master?
It's like he's basically taking the chair of the Jedi, of the master that died. That they
Oh, okay,
like what I understand, like the Jedi that they went to solve. I'm forgetting her name, unfortunately, but
right.
he was essentially given her chair, and
When Dooku was next in line for it, and he got passed over because he was aggressive in the field.
like Dooku like kind of suspects something that kind of like accuses him of knowing that's what happened beforehand.
Yeah, yeah, which I think I don't know. I mean, Mace Windu says, I'm inclined to believe Mace Windu, but I do think perhaps Mace Windu he could have. Here's the thing: because the Jedi are so unflinching on things, like Mace Windu could have been nice and just kind of been like, you know what, no, Dooku, he. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like kind of experiencing it after we've just kind of watched it and everything. Is that I mean, I'm inclined to believe Mace Windu and Dooku ultimately was in the wrong for the force that he did use, and he did get someone killed, and this is not the first time this has happened. But it feels like it's like Mace Windu didn't have to be so unflinching in reporting everything that happened. But what's he gonna do? It's the right thing. But so yeah, I mean, the point is Dooku did not get the promotion, but it's kind of seeking to prove his point that the Jedi are a little apocryphal, and it's about like, you play ball, you don't get boosted in the ranks.
It does kind of, yeah, I can kind of see where he comes from. Like the thing is, like I said, it was the most morally gray episode of the series, and like we even see like where both sides of it, we understand why they would go with Windu, but also we see why Dooku would be kind of pissed about it.
Yeah, like again, the Jedi aren't really they're basically foot soldiers, and they could be instruments of change. That's ultimately where Dooku comes down on things. Where we could actually be influencing a lot of change for the better of the world, but we're not. We're just playing. We're basically doing what the rules are. You're playing by the rules too much.
Like until I started watching this recently, I had completely forgotten that he was once a Jedi.
Really?
Well, I mean, I kind of thought about that, but I didn't know like how high of a Jedi he was. Like I didn't know he was going to be next in line to be he was on his way to becoming part of the council itself.
Yeah.
Like, I knew he was a fallen Jedi, but I didn't know it was
I
like
mean, I didn't know about the promotion thing. All I knew is that he was like
I
Obi-Wan
mean,
mentioned him.
like I said, I didn't know I didn't know how devoted he was to the cause.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, that might just be something that was created for this show, for all we know. And they're just filling it in
Yeah.
because first time we see him, he's already the oh, I'm gonna kill you with lightning guy.
Yeah. Lightning.
I used to kill people with fangs. Now I'm gonna kill them with my lightning.
Yeah. I like
All right.
killing people. All right.
He has a thing for playing villains.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All right, next up, unless you want to continue this.
No, I think we got it.
All right, episode 4, the Sith Lord.
A Sith Lord.
You're the Sith Lord.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, this episode, in fact, is the big choice again, in kind of the fork of the road path thing that we have going on between our two characters here. This is the big choice and payoff for all the Dooku stuff. We're in the opening is we're in the aftermath. Well, not in the aftermath, but we get to the aftermath essentially of episode one. But we start off with like this. I gotta tell you, man, on the rewatch, the opening really hit me because the opening is it's kind of his last scene he has with Qui-Gon Jinn. Of course, I'm going to this show very hyped for Qui-Gon Jinn. We have Liam Neeson in this episode playing Qui-Gon, and just the fact, think about it. I love the subtlety in the performance here that Dooku knows what's awaiting, knows the trap, knows that Darth Maul is waiting for him, and most likely going to do him in, and he knows he's sending his Padawan into a trap and he feels bad about it. I just love that tone to the scene. Like he's saying goodbye to him, knowingly sending him for the greater good. He's sending him to most likely his death.
And not to mention, it also shows him deleting this file on Camino.
Yep.
But yeah, sending him into that's the last time he ever saw Qui-Gon alive.
Yeah, and of course I love Qui-Gon's just kind of glowing about Obi-Wan and everything, and yeah, it's this whole. And of course, like you two will meet each other again. Oh yeah, they will, and Obi-Wan's not ain't gonna be happy with him.
It's like no, it's like in a way, it's like it's like Count Dooku was kind of like the Count Dooku taught Obi-Wan's master, so in a way he learned a lot of stuff from Count Dooku in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
And in a way that Count Dooku probably would have been a good teacher for Anakin had he not fallen to the dark side. He too.
Mm-hmm.
So that damn Palpatine.
So again, we start off basically right before the climax of episode one. Then we're in kind of essentially like right before the funeral at the very end of episode one. So it's so fascinating what we cram into. Like we filled the gaps so excellently with this Dooku story. Like, oh my god, this happened in between movies,
Like,
or it was in between scenes and movies. Oh my god!
Like, where was that? Where was that in the movies?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Retroactively, this is amazing.
If they would have included that kind of stuff in Attack of the Clones, that would have been a much better movie.
Yeah, where's this George Lucas version?
Like, well, then again, I mean, honestly, I don't think George thought of it back then. But
well, of course not. I'm just saying the whole like we go back and we touch things up. The whole George Lucas kind of like we retouched everything, but yeah, again, obviously different circumstances.
It's kind of interesting how this all worked out. Like the scene with the tree.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that scene with the trees broke my heart, man. Just him talking about like when he first found Qui-Gon Jinn, and this is him utterly laying out the regrets that he has over like he again basically in a coded way, kind of like saying more for himself that he feels bad about killing Qui-Gon Jinn, or at least getting Qui-Gon Jinn killed.
Like you could tell he really cared for Qui-Gon.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think Qui-Gon was the light that was in him that he kind of it's like like what we saw with Kylo Ren, for example. Like we saw him he kept trying to snuff out the light in his life, and I think ultimately Dooku kind of did that with Qui-Gon Jinn. He had to fully devote himself to the Sith and the cause. More accurately, he like the last tether was the only thing he could possibly stand in his way is Qui-Gon Jinn, so he kind of had to set him up.
And also,
it's very mob-esque.
And also, Master Yaddle.
So that's the thing. Let's talk about Yaddle, man. So the breakout star of this. Now, here's the thing. I wonder how intentional this was, because at some point they're gonna have to address this. We sadly, Tom Kane. He's no longer gonna be able to do the voice of Yoda since he since his I believe his stroke, right?
Yeah, the stroke. I mean, fortunately he has recovered. Like the stroke is no longer. He's no longer suffering from the stroke, but it has affected his ability to do voices.
Yeah, so based on that, I mean,
the thing is he has recovered, though. That's the important thing.
That is the important thing. So that's great. It's
it basically prevented him from doing any further voice acting, which is Of course, a shame, but like I said, the important thing is he's still alive.
Yeah, it's a bummer that at some point we're gonna have to recast Yoda. So I wonder how much of that was the logic here. Like, well, obviously when Baby Yoda was introduced, there was a lot of speculation. I'm not saying we get any answers to this, but there was a lot of speculation, obviously, with Yoda in the news and Baby Yoda in the news. Like, wait a minute, where did Grogu come from? And of course, wait a minute, there was Yoda, and there was Yaddle.
Like, yeah, but he was already yeah.
I'm aware. I'm just saying, based on that, Yaddle did get traction. She was brought back into the fray, and this is kind of the end result of that.
Like yeah, but again, like again, they most likely, since they can't use Tom Kane, they probably would have used Frank Oz because they did use him in Rebels and other things. So
Yeah, I don't know. Frank Oz kind of runs hot and cold with Disney these days. I have no idea.
mainly in regards to the Muppets and everything, but
I know with the Muppets, so I have no idea because he
like
did show up obviously for the Last Jedi, but I don't know where he stands on everything
and,
else.
and he did come back for he also returned as Yoda in Rebels and other things. So
Well, that's what I'm saying. Rebels was before that, though, wasn't it?
it might have been, but
Yeah.
I think he's on fine terms with them regarding that, and probably more for the Lucasfilm side of things. But
Okay.
but it's most likely just because he was unavailable.
Yeah. Anywho,
But
but Yaddle though, of course, Yaddle. Do you recall who voiced Yaddle?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she did a great job as Yaddle, man.
You know what is kind of funny though? It's like if you take into account like this does kind of share like the same style as Clone Wars, where the creator of the Clone Wars was Jon Favreau did a voice pre Vizsla in the Clone Wars, and then went on to create Mando.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, Bryce Dallas Howard got some directing abilities in Mando, and is now voicing a character in a show that emulates Clone Wars. So it comes full circle in a way.
Mm.
Sorry.
No, yes, no, for sure it did though. It's the fact that we keep having our Star Wars creators show up in the thing, and the fact that like, hey, we've had our directors pop up as pilots in Mando, and here like let's give Bryce Dallas Howard kind of her star turn as Yaddle.
I hope she does more in the Star Wars universe besides Yaddle.
I'm sure we always give her like a live action cameo as someone who's not Yaddle, but yeah.
And of course, Dave Filoni's will probably involve wolves of some kind.
Well, he is. You remember he plays Trapper Wolf, the X.
Yeah, I know. I know. If he ever does something else, he'll probably still involve wolves.
Most likely, dances with Filoni's.
Yeah, he likes wolves.
Yes.
And wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah, maybe he'll do Werewolf by Night.
The sequel, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the next time Werewolf, maybe he'll direct the next Werewolf by Night special.
It gotta be kind of funny if they actually did get him to direct that. I know he's way too busy with Luca with other stuff though, and he probably doesn't do anything outside of Star Wars.
Well, Dave, we have this project, a Marvel project, but I don't know if you might be guys. I'm a little busy right now. Well, I mean, okay, it was Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night. Let me just put. Hey, someone call Favreau to tell him to direct this. I'll be right back in like 2 months. Okay.
Al Giacchino did a good job though.
Yeah, no, he did a great job.
But we're not here to talk about Werewolf by Night because you guys already did that.
Yes, we did. So, yeah, it's the fact that Yaddle. I mean, I love the tension with Yaddle because I mean, it had me thinking while I was watching it. Wait a minute. I know obviously Yaddle was in episode 1, but
she wasn't in anything else.
That's the thing. I was struggling to think. Wait a minute, is she in those council scenes in the other ones, or no, or like where is she? And that made me think. Oh God, did we kill her off? Like, could we possibly kill her off here? And I kept questioning, oh my God, could she die? And seemingly she died, and then she lifted the thing. I was like, oh, she lives. And what are we gonna do?
Like, she lives. Oh wait, she's dead now.
That's what I'm saying. That was amazing. I just kept like yo-yoing like her fate, man. It was cool.
And the Force theme playing when she lifted it, I was like, ah.
I love the visual. I love the visual kind of storytelling we have going on here, where we have like the light, the visual kind of like cinematography we have going on here. We have like her with the light on the side of the frame, and of course our other guys in darkness.
Symbolism.
Yep, symbolism. Very nice. And
I just thought it was kind of funny the way the teeth kind of just made it look like a giant maniacal grin.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it probably wasn't intentional, but
No, no, it wasn't. Yeah, she has pointy teeth.
it's just, the cave has pointy teeth.
That as well.
That's what I was talking about. Like the
Oh,
cave,
right.
like the way she was looking up the door looked like a giant smile.
Yeah, it's got like kind of like a cog gear thing, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I know that probably was. I know that wasn't intentional to make it look like a grin. It just that just kind of like hey, that kind of looks like a big toothy grin.
Yeah.
but but yeah, it's like you can you can tell like what I really like about Dooku in this is like you can see and hear the conflict in him. It's like you can tell he doesn't want to fully give up on the Jedi.
Yeah, the fact is he doesn't want to kill these Jedi, but they are getting in his way for the greater good here. And that's the thing. He has to. A lot of people have had to die, but again, so that peace could actually endure.
And especially after Yaddle said she gave up her position on the council.
Yeah,
It's like I said, I especially love like Burton's delivery of the line, like, "How many people have died because of my actions?"
yeah,
It's like apparently he wanted to do like a different kind of voice for younger Dooku, but they insisted upon him continuing the Christopher Lee impression.
yeah. I mean, he's definitely. You get a sense that Dooku's definitely like he's making a choice, and we're seeing like a non-spur of the moment kind of moment of change, like Anakin had. That he's been going down this path, and he's been building it, and he's been you see I think you see it building versus like it just like it kind of like comes. I'm not saying it comes out of nowhere in Revenge of the Sith, but it does go by rather quickly. It's like choose, and then he chooses versus like, man, Duke has been down a path, but it's not too late. You can bring down the Sith Lord, man. Join me, and then he makes the choice, in the negative for her, and then also beheads her with a lightsaber off screen. Well, kind of like we kind of zoom out, but like,
All the while, Sidious just looks on and smiles sinisterly.
yeah, yeah, man. Of course, we got the original. Plus, we have, now with Clone Wars, we have the original, the Darth Sidious, Ian
Ian
McDermott.
McDermott.
Yeah, Ian McDermott. And yeah, so we killed Yaddle in a brutal way. Also, I love that during when Yaddle's reaching out to Dooku, I love how we mirror Luke talking to Vader in Return of the Jedi. I love when we do that. Well, every time we have the conversation, we have like the one Jedi kind of on the other side of it, just kind of do a little chat. It's nice.
Again, like you know what George Lucas says.
It's like poetry.
It rhymes.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to episode 5.
Practice makes perfect.
So this one's pretty straightforward, but here's the thing. I think out of the 3 Ahsoka episodes, I think this one's the best.
Like it definitely does kind of lead into her character a lot more. Like, and it even highlights like Anakin's teaching method.
Yeah, this one's more filling in the blanks than the other 2. I mean, that's the thing. There again, Dooku's an arc. This is filling in the blanks, particularly this story here, where we're filling in the blanks of how Ahsoka got so skilled, so much so it ensured her survival in the 7th season of Clone Wars.
Like, I mean, Anakin did a good job.
He did, and I love seeing like Anakin's logic here. Like, look, if you can survive, if you can like maintain yourself against like the best of our clone troopers here, no blaster will be able to take you down. And of course, it's a very hard training that she's going through. You're being stunned and knocked out again and again and again and again and again.
But ultimately, she does see the results of the training.
It works.
Yeah, and she survives, and clearly she's still alive in Mando. So clearly, Anakin did something right.
Yeah, he did. He did. He killed a lot of kids, but he did one right.
Like, well, I'm not saying he did everything he did was right, of
No,
course.
no, I'm aware. I'm aware.
Like I'm not condoning the killing of children, either in here or in reality, obviously. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Sorry, let me just backtrack there for a moment. I'm not condoning anything Anakin did regarding the murder of younglings.
Oh no, we do not condone the murder of children, folks. No, it's not cool. It's
No,
not good.
no, real. Like yes. So moving on before this goes even darker.
Honestly, it's a real prickish move. Honestly, just
Yeah,
yeah,
and obviously it is harsh training, but it is effective. I think you can see. You
yeah,
can see. It's like I mean, there's not really much to say about this episode, other than like it's just a few scenes of Ahsoka doing ineffective training from the Jedi, Anakin deciding to teach her something, you know, that she'll actually be facing in reality, her getting stunned over and over again, and ultimately seeing the result of the training as it leads into season 7.
Well, that's the thing. There are two beats we do have to hit with the episode, though. One, I love her dynamic with Rex, which obviously, we see the friendship with Rex, and ultimately with both the training and with Rex, we see the payoff of both of these when we check in with her, like basically right before she walks into the finale of Clone Wars.
It is nice to have D. Baker back for the clones, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of really nice that again, like she's, the training was very effective and prepared her, for the end times. Of course, the end times facilitated by Anakin himself. So very darkly ironic.
Like, yeah, he basically trained her how to survive his own onslaught.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, he probably wasn't planning the onslaught at that point, but
No, of course not. No.
it's like, and this still reminds me. I mean, I don't know if we ever talked about episode 7 on here, or season 7 on here, but honestly, I don't think we ever did.
I don't think we did either. I mean, I talked about it on Memoirs. I don't think you and I talked about it.
I'm not on you mean season 7 of Clone Wars?
What?
So we never talked about season 7 of Clone Wars.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I meant season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's like unfortunately, which is a shame because that show was, I guess, that was like in a great continuation and finale. But
Yeah.
It's like one thing I can mention about it is like I love how you never actually get to see Ahsoka witness his turn to Darth Vader. Like she only like hears about it and witnesses like the end results and just basically feels the fact that it's happened. But ultimately here, and ultimately it does show that Ford did do something right in teaching her to survive, even though, as seen in Rebels, he does end up trying to kill her at some point. So it's kind of come full circle in a backwards kind of way.
Yeah.
So, sounds like anything else to say about this? But I did like the way it leads into season 7.
Yeah, and that brings us to episode 6.
Resolve.
Resolve. So we do this is set right after
And
right after Return of the Jedi.
and this is basically
Sorry, Revenge of the Sith. Sorry.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, no, that's the wrong one. Sorry.
Like this is definitely the most Kurosawa out of all of the episodes.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, I love how we check. We have a really poignant moment with Ahsoka that we never were able to see because again, Ahsoka was kind of a retroactive thing with the Clone Wars. We saw her at Padme's funeral, which I thought was a really good choice in seeing her. Like, she was my friend.
Yeah, she and Padme got along quite well.
That they did. That they did. Of course, you know me, Jacob. I don't know if I ever. I'm sure I've told you this at least at some point. I'm a sucker, man. I mean, the movies did not work that great, but man, I'm a sucker for Anakin and Padme. I love those two crazy kids, and being secretly married in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, the Clone Wars series did a good job fleshing out their relationship.
Yeah, they were. I don't know. It was really. I don't know. I thought it was rather romantic and nice.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm saying that.
Yeah.
It's kind of both happy and sad to see her pregnant and see pregnant Padme in the Clone Wars season 7.
Yep.
It's like, oh look, that's so cute, but we know it's going to happen at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. So apparently I heard this was adapted from a novel they wrote about Ahsoka. Apparently, this episode, at least it's kind of a loose adaptation of the novel.
Like where she's basically living on this agriculture planet or whatever estate.
Yeah.
And basically helping people on a farm.
Yeah, basically this episode I think ultimately facilitates Ahsoka going from between kind of Clone Wars to Rebels. Ultimately, this kind of gets her on the path of showing up in Rebels the way she does, which ultimately will then lead to Mando years later.
Thanks to Bail Organa mostly.
Yeah, Bail. Or as the Red Letter Media kids call him, Basil Oregano.
Oh, the letters are there.
They are. Of course, we have this dumb kid on the farm who rats Ahsoka out, and doesn't go well. We have a really scary looking Inquisitor show up with a mask.
But Ahsoka deals with him pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, you saw her go toe-to-toe with Darth Maul.
I think that was Clancy Brown who did the voice of that one.
Really? I didn't.
I saw the credits and I did see it. I saw his name in there.
That sounded familiar. Tracks. I could buy that being Clancy.
It's not the first time he's done anything related to Star Wars, though.
I mean, Mando, for the most recent example, you're right. Historically, there's probably been other characters in other
Like
Star Wars.
he played Savage in Clone Wars.
Yeah, you're right. He did. Yes. So we have. Yeah, he's been. Yeah, I wonder if
His,
he's. Yeah.
his name was Savage, right? It was Darth Maul's brother.
Yeah, I believe that Savage is how you pronounce it. Yes, that was him.
That's what I thought. But
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, talk,
I
talk, talk,
wonder.
talk about a tragic villain.
I wonder if he's been in Rebels, because then he has like the Star Wars bingo effect going on.
I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that.
Yeah,
Like
that'd be interesting.
all that's missing from this was Hondo.
Yep, good old man. One of these days, we'll bring that Hondo back.
It's like we need to see him again in at least Mando season 3 or Boba Fett season 2
Or Ahsoka. He'd be very welcome
or
in Ahsoka.
or Ahsoka. You're right, or Ahsoka.
One of any of those three shows. I mean, I think Ahsoka. Honestly, I'd bet all the money. As much as I want him to be in Mando, but I think he's going to be in Ahsoka because it makes sense for him to be in Ahsoka out of all three.
I know I say this every time we talk about Hondo, but as long as they get Jim Cummings back for the voice,
That's the thing. I mean, we did it with we did with Cad Bane. Why not?
and they got Corey Burton.
Yeah.
It's like they even credited Corey Burton as the voice of Cad Bane. So.
Yeah, I mean, because between that and the fact that in the Disney parks they have like an actor with Jim Cummings' voice, so it is possible.
Well, it's not an actor; it's an animatronic.
Oh, fully it's an. Oh, right, sorry, fully it's an. Well, still, the fact is they have some means of doing it.
Well, don't get me wrong; it's a highly advanced animatronic. It's like one of the best animatronics you'll ever see at a Disney park.
You know, I've said this once and I've said this before. I mean, I would be elated if James Cameron, the reason he took so long to do those frickin' Avatar movies was that he was actually getting performances from animatronics, and that makes me wonder. Oh God, that's our next step. Imagine if we actually used that animatronic to do a performance and have Jim Cummings' voice coming out of it. Imagine that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But
I mean, we've never tried that though, have we?
I mean, I don't think we have, but I mean, we know the real reason for Avatar taking so long is because they wanted to perfect the technology to basically do motion capture underwater.
Yeah,
which is still impressive in its own right.
I mean, sure. I mean, ultimately, it's like, well, obviously the avatars aren't real people, so.
Like, well,
I mean,
they wanted
we're trying to kid here. I mean, we know it's going to be all CG. It's just going to be nice looking CG.
Well, remember, it's motion capture. They're using physical actors to capture their performances.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going to. Like, yeah. Anyway, well, let's not get distracted with semantics on Avatar and everything. Let's refocus.
Long story short, if they ever bring back Hondo, Jim Cummings used to provide the voice.
Regardless, yes, they do.
It'd be, and I'm sure they will. I mean, if they do bring him back, then probably sure they already have that in mind.
Yeah, I think people are going to riot if they don't get Jim Cummings back as Hondo and he shows up like, wait a minute, that ain't the Pooh Bear. I'm upset.
This venture is no longer profitable.
Said all the Disney shareholders, and they put their folders down. They walked out the room. No Hondo, no money. We're out.
I am your friend, Ahsoka.
And of course, they're walking. You have Dave Filoni at the table, flummoxing, and just one of the executives looks down at me. He just like shakes his head. Dave, not cool, Dave. And he walks out of the room, just like Gruen despicable me. Not cool, Dave. Just walks out.
I love all these like hypothetical board pitches we come up with.
if Dave Filoni ever screws up major, that's what's going to happen. Someone's going to say, "Not cool, Dave," and just going to walk out.
If anything, I think Dave would fight for Jim Cummings to come back for it.
Oh, he absolutely should. I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, if they get Corey Burton, I'm fairly sure that they're certain they'll get Jim Cummings. That is depending on if they have Hondo or not.
And of course, you'd have if Hondo didn't come back, Corey Burton was like next time he bumps into Jim Cummings at a convention or something, he says, "Hey, hey, Jim, guess who's Dave's favorite? This guy."
Why do we turn these people into horrible people? we turn these actors into horrible people.
Well, it's not. He's proud of himself. I guess who's Dave's favorite? It's this guy. Yeah. Were you in live action? I didn't think so. Yeah, but
Uh,
you didn't get your toothpick. Hey, shut up, man.
oh God! All right, back to
And
the
then you
episode.
died. Hey, shut up, man.
Let's get back to the episode at hand.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not really much left. Just the idea is it's a pretty cool moment. She takes out the Inquisitor, essentially cuts off his head, but kind of cuts off his mask. I don't know if that guy just didn't have a head or what, but you know, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it was. It was a cool looking mask.
Yeah. And the consequence of that kid ratting him out is now they have to go into hiding because, well, now you're on the Empire's radar.
Yep, all because they ratted out a Jedi.
Yep, a Jedi.
Not from a Jedi. And
Don't mess with the Jedi.
but she did call Bail Organa for help, and if anyone can help them, it's Bail Organa.
If anyone can bail you out, it's Organa.
and clear and clearly, what he said at the end inspires her to obviously obviously almost begin the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you know what's something really fun we should talk about?
What?
Remember towards the top of the episode at the funeral, Mary had like kind of the essentially the clone troopers right before they became stormtroopers. Well, you know what I mean, like the control, you know, refolded storm clone troopers. He's kind of talking in code to Ahsoka, and you have this gag where like he says basically everything. He says, if you need a favor, anything you need help, you just ask me. And of course, the stormtroopers think that he's talking to them, and he's like shrugging, like I don't know, he's just a weirdly friendly guy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
It's a classic gag, but one that still works.
Yeah. I just like that we didn't like do the drawing. Like, what's he talking about? I don't know. I just love to kind of have like a shrug just to explain it.
it's like one thing. The one thing we do need to discuss, Dragon.
Yeah.
What do you think Dooku's favorite ice cream is?
Well, I think Dooku. I mean, it's more of a seasonal thing, but I'd say Dooku's a boo batter man. You know, he's for the the Cold Stone boo batter, in which it's the what do you call it? Like not cake. It's cake batter, but they color it black for Halloween. So remember when they did like that broiler thing back in the day with with Burger King when they were promoting Revenge of the Sith? Do you remember that?
Not really.
Yeah, Burger King. They had like the burgers. They were like Darth Vader burgers, and they were black.
I think I vaguely remember something like that. I mean, I know they had like. I know the only black burgers I know are like the ones in Japan.
Huh. Regardless, so the ice cream equivalent to the black burger, if you will, would be the black ice cream, which is essentially a boo batter, cake batter ice cream. So there you go.
In case you guys are wondering why we brought that up, check out our Quantumania trailer breakdown.
Yes, the Ant-Man Quantumania trailer. Yes.
Basically, we spent almost half that hour-long video talking about different people's taste in ice cream.
Infinity cones for you, and you get Baskin Robbins.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
They always find out. They know we've been talking about it, Jacob. You know why?
Why? Because they always find out.
Exactly.
It's like, but seriously, check that out. You'll understand why we're discussing ice cream.
Very literal mini tangent here. You know, it'd be hilarious.
What?
What if their marketing campaign was Ant-Man shrunken down, and then he would it's like he would basically enlarge. He says, "That's how Baskin Robbins always finds out. They got me listening in to the clients."
It's like it's PR.
Yeah, it'd be like promotional thing of like, yeah, Baskin Robbins passed the savings on to you.
It's like that's how they get personalized ads. They have Ant-Man listening in.
Yeah, and of course, then we have like a Better Call Saul, like we have basically like a little Better Call Saul time. We have like the ice cream swarmed by ants, and we reveal it was Ant-Man the whole time doing that. Get the mint chip, kids. It's worth going to prison for.
The crossover nobody was anticipating.
Yeah. Better Call Scott. Great Scott.
All right. Okay, so do you think we have anything else to say?
No, just we facilitate. She's going to Rebels to help out the Rebel cause via Bail Organa, most likely, and of course that leads to Mando with Rosario.
It's like obviously she's like one of the kickstarts to the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah. Now the choice that she made specifically here was, I mean, what do you think the choice is in this episode? Do you think it's to like stand to help the farmers, or do you think it's to join the rebellion?
It's like I thought it was more like help them like stay in like either stay in hiding or fight for a greater cause.
Right.
Again, obviously, as we all know, she chose to fight for a greater cause.
Yeah.
I mean, because basically, we've all seen. The majority of us have probably seen Rebels by this point, and we all know that spoiler alert. She's Fulcrum in that show. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
I
like
know you.
Chuck, not the Fulcrum and Chuck though. It's a different Fulcrum.
Like, I know you've at least seen the first season, so you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, I've seen half of Rebel. I've seen the first two seasons. So I'm caught up.
Yep, basically the first season, the Darth Vader season, but pre Prawn.
Thrawn.
Thrawn, right? Thrawn. I don't know why I said prawn.
Thrawn, okay.
Yep, I don't know why I said prawn.
Say,
Right.
who the heck are we going to cast for Grand Admiral Thrawn? Well, we do know somebody, and it's close enough to Thrawn in name.
And it's like, hey, I'm playing Thrawn, okay?
Ezra, come here, okay?
It's like, hey, look at me, I'm blue.
Why am I blue?
Like, I don't know, this is the color of my skin, okay? I'm an alien, see?
I'm not the magic genie. I shouldn't be blue.
Oh my god.
Don't rob me.
It's like, I'm Thrawn. It's like, I am Prawn, Grand Admiral Prawn. What do you mean by it's like, wait, what do you mean it's Thrawn? It's like, I didn't sign up for Thrawn, I signed up for Prawn. Ay caramba.
He's going to throw me away.
It's like, alright, I'm gonna move on before I offend anybody with the
Alright.
I hope I didn't offend anybody or don't end up offending
Well,
anybody.
if we offended anyone, we offended King Prawns.
And the Muppet fans, I guess.
Or anyone from Malagra.
Yeah, that too. But
Okay.
we humbly apologize. We were just
Yeah.
doing we were just doing it for the sake of comedy, and we were impersonating a very famous Muppet.
In other words, for comedy purposes, absolutely.
Nice. Nice. One of the funny parts of that show, I guess.
True. Very, very true. So, Jacob, any final anything you want to round things out with, or
Uh, well, I mean, I would like to see kind of more of the exploration of this. I mean, I know we're going to get Bad Batch sooner or later. I think that's been pushed back to next year.
yeah, I think they pushed it to the top of next year. I think.
So it is always nice to see more of the Filoni animated Star Wars. So it's like I do hope we kind of see more of these mini anthology Star Wars animated series like Tales of the Jedi, like how these explored obviously Dooku and Ahsoka. Maybe we could see more explorations of other characters.
Plo Koon.
He was originally considered, but originally considered for an Ahsoka story, but Filoni thought it'd be better to have that'd be more interesting to explore a dynamic with her mother.
Yeah.
Which I think can be fair because there's not a lot of mother-daughter interactions in Star Wars. So
Yeah, it's true.
I was like, so I think he made the right call ultimately in that. But and it's kind of considering like Plo Koon is his favorite Star Wars character.
Yeah.
So it must have been hard for him to make. It was probably hard for him to make that decision in the first place.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think he made the right call, and probably will be able to explore it next time. The next Star Wars anthology series will be the new season of Visions.
Yes. Yeah. That's gonna be interesting. More of those. Yeah, I'm interested to see which one of those get sequels.
See, I'm not counting the next season of hold on, of Bad Batch because that's technically not an anthology like the original Clone Wars was. It's more of a serialized story.
Yep.
And with Visions, it's going to do while the original season was exclusively studios from Japan. Apparently, season 2 is going to be animation studios from all over the world.
Yep. It'd be an interesting one to do for Tales of the Jedi. I mean, they probably want to go for more recognizable, but just given it's going to play a role in Mando season 3, what if we did the first Mandalorian Jedi from back in the day? What if that was your 3 episode arc?
You mean Mandalore?
What did I say?
I mean, like I said, the character known as Mandalore.
Oh, so literally his name was Mandalore.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go then. Yeah,
Like I said, I think he's the planet was named after him.
that sounds right. Yeah, I buy that.
I mean, keep in mind, I may be completely wrong here, but
Right.
I think it's like the Great Mandalore the Great or something.
Or again,
Because
another way.
the original wielder of the dark saber.
Another way to go, and they'd have to have their ducks in a row here. If Mace Windu doesn't show up, it doesn't reappear in like Book of Boba Fett or just reappear in general. That's how we do. That's how we check in with. We do an anthology of like the Mace Windu surviving.
That would be interesting, though.
Yeah.
I wonder how he would survive both lightning and being flung off a building.
Well, he wouldn't be too happy.
Well, not too happy, but
He'd be charbroiled. He'd be all burnt up, and he'd be like missing
Maybe-
a hand. And he'd be
maybe-
like, "Man, that was my favorite hand."
maybe he'd have an eye patch.
Nah, it's ridiculous. Can you imagine Mace Windu with an eye patch? It'd be stupid. Who in their right minds would give Mace Windu an eye patch and like put him in? He'd probably be wearing black, and he'd be maybe have a goatee. That'd be ridiculous. Jacob, get your head out of the clouds, man.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, what was I thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking? Like, who's gonna give a show to that guy?
Like, apparently Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, get out of here. I'll never do something like that. Sam Jackson, though, him, they could do all that with. Mace Windu, get out of town.
Yeah, like I said, what was I thinking?
I'm so disgusted we should end the podcast now.
All right, let's end the podcast.
All right. That'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment. Calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just Plus&Us.
This podcast is no longer profitable.
Not cool, Dave.
Not cool, Dave.